Hey guys, welcome back, or welcome if you're new here. My name is Mika, and on this channel we're talking about a day in my life as a data analyst. But this one is going to be a little different. This is going to be your actual beginner edition. Okay, I'm here to address some of the questions that a lot of my mentees have when I'm being asked about certain things. So in today's video, we're going to basically talk about what is it that I actually do as a data analyst. I'm not going to walk you through a day in my life as one, like my day-to-day, because I already have a video out for that. But I am going to talk about what it is that I actually do as a data analyst. I'm going to talk about how do you know if you qualify for a job. That is something that I get a lot from beginners. And then we're going to talk about salary and salary compensations, and how to negotiate that. And then we're going to also talk about who this job is not for. Okay, so if this is something you're interested in, then stay tuned. So I know that your time is very valuable, so I'm going to just go ahead and jump right into it. Alrighty, so if you see me looking down, it's because I do have my notes here and also on my phone. So anyways, so what is it that I actually do? So the obvious, of course, I do analyze data, but I analyze a lot of historical data, okay? And so pretty much it gives me the opportunity to analyze the data. So I clean it, I manipulate it, I gather the requirements, I go through a lot of meetings, I pull reports, I create reports, you name it, I do it. I do a lot of month-end reports as well. So I deal a lot with the directors and CEOs and presidents of the company. So I do talk to them a lot because those are the reports that I'm building for. Or if those reports fail, that's something that I have to work on as well. When I talk about me analyzing the data, cleaning it, and things like that, when you're cleaning your data, this means that the data that comes in from the source, so wherever it's coming from, whatever system we're pulling it from, it always has to be reviewed. Okay, you can't just take it for what it is and then put it into the system and thinking that it's right. So querying is something that I do a lot of, and then reporting. When I tell you gathering requirements, so I do gather requirements a lot. And if you don't know what I mean when I say I gather requirements, it's pretty much when you go and you actually talk to your stakeholders or your end users and you ask them what it is that they want, so that way that you can be able to produce them something that they need. Okay, so here's an example. Your child comes to you and tells you, Mom, Dad, I want a birthday party. All right. And so that's all they told you. So that's what the intakes, that's how their intakes come in from your actual end users. They'll come in and tell you that they want a report, and they want a report to reflect whatever, right? And then, so you don't have enough information. Your child only came to you and told you they wanted a birthday party. Okay. So with that, you have to then go to your child and say, all right, got my pen, got my paper, let's talk about it. What would you like your birthday party to be? This is how you're going to find out what the theme is. What's the color? Is this going to be a big party or a small party? So how many people we're talking? So that means how many people needs to see this report? How many people needs to be at this party? Do you want cake? Do you want finger food? Do you want food? Do you want to go to a restaurant? Is this party going to be at the house? What day would this party be on? That kind of thing. You are pretty much gathering your requirements. See, you are already getting experience already. You're gathering your requirements because you're asking your child what kind of party that they want. And the reason why you ask questions is so that way you can give them what they want. Okay, you're doing the same thing in the field. Whenever you're doing any type of reporting or building anything for the end users, when you got to gather those requirements, they're only going to give you a limited information about what they want. After that, you have to start diving deep into asking more questions about what they want. So you got to start asking questions like, what kind of report do you want? Do you want it to be in Excel, or do you want a single report, or do you want an actual dashboard? Do you want it to be the company's colors? Who will have access to this report? How often do you want to see the report? With that being said, do you want this to be emailed to you, or do you want to be able to pull it yourself? So that way I know how often to refresh the report. Do you want this report to go out every week, once a month, every day? How often do you want to see the report? Is this a one-time report? These are all the questions that you need to ask. And in addition to What is the purpose of this report? Because sometimes they'll ask you for something and it doesn't match the purpose. You see? So you do have to gather your requirements. So that's what it means when they talk about gathering requirements. And I can create a whole video that really goes deep into details about how to really gather requirements and what specific questions you need to ask for specific jobs. And okay. Another thing is like I said, I do build a lot of reports. I do maintain a lot of reports. So these reports, they do fail. So with that, I have to go in and fix it and refresh it and figure out why. And a lot of reasons can be there could be a lot of reasons on why a report failed or didn't refresh, because maybe there is a bad join, or maybe the table there's a hiccup in the table. Maybe, like I said, a join that you added or a column that you used no longer works, or maybe they retired the table or whatever. So you have to learn to troubleshoot and dive deep into figuring out why certain things fail. Sometimes it will take you a few minutes. Sometimes it could take you an hour. Sometimes it can take you a whole day, or sometimes it could take you several days. This is when you have to start communicating and saying, okay, this is taking me a little bit longer than what I anticipated. So, and these are some of the challenges you do face as a data analyst, okay? It's not all roses and we're out, you know what I'm saying? I don't work a full 8-hour shift. I'm not gonna lie to you about that. I don't work a full 8-hour shift. I just don't. I probably work a good 5 hours and I'm done for the day. As we as data analysts, we have a lot of freedom, and we do. That's why you see us watching TV, going to the gym, because we have a lot of freedom, okay? So you do have to be very disciplined and things like that. But you do face challenges, because along with that freedom, along with looking like we have this big lavish life, we do face challenges. We face the issues where we don't have permission. We can't collect the data. Maybe we're missing deadlines or whatever. Like, it can get very frustrating, and I'm not gonna lie to you, there are some days where I'm just like, oh my God. Like, you get frustrated, and you do. Maybe you're working on a query and you can't figure this out. So yeah, so there are days where, I'm not gonna lie to you, I just be like, oh my God, like I'm banging my head up against my monitor because I can't quite figure it out. These are the challenges you do face, especially when you're dealing with queries and trying to learn how to write these codes sometimes. And sometimes you just can't find it. You can't get the help that you need, and it gets frustrating, and it does. So it's not just all roses every day, because it's not. How do I know if I qualify? Oh my goodness. Okay, so so a lot of my mentees will get, especially when they get ready to hit the market, one of the questions, the things that I get all the time is that the mentee will come to me and say, Mika, I had a recruiter that reached out to me and they sent me the job description, and I don't know if I qualify because there's some things on there that I don't know how to do. Right? And then I get another person who will say, well, they want me to be an engineer. The role says to be an engineer, and I'm not a data engineer, and so I don't know if I qualify. Alrighty. So this is what I get as beginners, and I face this challenge as well. I used to hesitate a lot when I first started in this field trying to apply for jobs. I was always really scared because I didn't really know what to expect. But okay, number one, don't focus so much on the role, okay? Don't focus so much on the job title itself, okay? So just because it calls yourself a software engineer, or if it says the word engineer or a technician or something like that in the role, don't keep yourself from applying. The role, the title of the position doesn't matter, okay? What matters is the description. Alrighty, so if I focus on just the job, just the role or the title of the position, I would miss out on a whole lot of job opportunities, okay? So I can apply for a job, or if I see a job on Indeed and it's called Sanitation Removal Technician Engineer, at the end of the day, I'm still a dadgum janitor, okay? I am still moving trash. And my thing about it is that I go to an interview and you're telling me, tell me about your experience with removing trash. I remove trash every day. I have children, right? So my thing is that you're gonna miss out on a job opportunity because you were so focused on the title that you didn't focus on what the description was. What did the job describe you being the person that's gonna fit this position, okay? And that's what you need to focus on. Number two, the second thing that you need to focus on would be preferred and required. These are the two words that we're looking for in the job description: preferred and required. Or you see the word plus or nice to have. These are the things. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna pull a job description for the company that I'm with right now. I'm gonna pull that job description and go over that. What we're gonna look at is gonna be the primary responsibilities and accountability. So translate business requirements to dashboards and reporting tools. Okay, so basically, like I was saying, you're going to pretty much take the requirements that was asked and be able to build a report off of it based on what you gathered. That's pretty much it. Okay, develop data models and queries. So the data models and queries, I do develop a lot of queries. Querying something is something I do on a daily. I query every single day. I code every day, believe it or not. I code every day, unless I code one day and then I'm focused on another day on building the report based on the code. But just about every day, about 90% of my job, I am coding. Create dashboards and reports for stakeholders. So that is all that I do create reports for, is for my stakeholders and my end users. And your stakeholders can be anyone. It could be your manager. It could be a vendor, a third party outside of the company. It could be the CEO. It could be the president. Anybody who is putting in a request for you to build something is going to be your stakeholder. Provides user training, access management, and support. So the provide user training, access management, and the support, the way that I do that is that I do a lot of documentations. I actually went and created a full document with screenshots and everything, walking someone through exactly how you can actually do the report if I'm ever out of the office. So I can always cross-train anyone. So with my manager retiring, we have a new manager that came in, and then he needed to know exactly how I was doing this. And so instead of me just sitting down going through this step by step, I said, here's a document that you can take a look at it, and if you have questions, we can definitely talk about it. He didn't need to, because honey, I had screenshots and arrows pointing that says do this, and if this happens then that, if that happens then that. Like, you need to be able to build it or create it even if I'm out of the office. Documentation is very, very important. So because in addition to user training, when you get done building your reports, you're going to have to train them on how to build, how to pretty much work your report that you created for them. So you need to pretty much say this drop down does this, and if you do this, and if you do Control Alt, you can select multiple actions. You need to tell them that. So all of that needs to be put inside of your documentation, because after a week or two, after I went over the whole training and went over the dashboard and how it works and answered questions, when they come back to that report in another week or two, they're not gonna remember everything that you talked about. So they have a job aid that will basically say, that will answer the questions for them without them having to keep bugging you every single time they have a question. Helps to establish and nurture cross-departmental relationships. So again, my introverts, you're going to be doing a lot of collaborations here, not just only with your teammates, but also with the business lines as well, or the managers or whoever. You're going to be doing a lot of communication. So you're going to be doing a lot of collaboration. So collaboration is also very key in this position. All right, so down there right here, it says that you need proficient in Microsoft Office, such as Access, Word, Excel, PowerPoint, and Outlook. I do use Excel a lot. So that means I use a lot of pivot tables. I use a lot of lookups, VLOOKUP, XLOOKUP, you name it, I do it. And my scorecards are all on Excel sheets. So there's a lot of if statements and formulas that need to be written. So Excel, if I had to rate myself, because I know this is going to be a question, if I had to rate my Excel experience when I first started here, I would probably say that I was more like a beginner, somewhat intermediate. I didn't know pivot tables. I didn't know any of that. But I did have some Excel experience, and then also I use Excel within my data as well. So PowerPoint, I do know how. Outlook, I know. Access, I know. Microsoft Word, which I don't really use a lot of, and all of that. So pretty much the whole suite I know. Okay, but I did not have Oracle, but I did have SQL. So they wanted someone with the database administration experience or knowledge would be helpful. Strong communication skills, both verbal and written. So like I said, with the written, you have to make sure that you have your documentations, your job aids. But the verbal, I don't have a problem talking. Now, I don't talk a lot, but I will raise my concerns or ask questions in meetings, or when it's my turn to present, I don't have a problem. But you do have, when you're doing your reports, you do actually have to present those. So you do have to make sure that your verbal communication is stellar. Now, here's another thing that I get from a lot of my mentees. Well, Mika, my first language is not English, and so my communication skill is not that great. Understand that. But you have to also understand, do not allow that to hinder you to apply for jobs, because there are a lot of diverse people that is in this industry and their first language is not always English. There's some with on my mentor job, let me tell you something. We have nothing but foreigners, because they're all, pretty much all of them are from India. And I'm not gonna lie to you, some of them I'll be like, Chad, you gotta write it down, because I don't have a clue what you're talking about, what you said. Because I'm not gonna lie. So, but it doesn't keep them from getting a job. So please don't allow the fact that your first language is not English to keep you from applying. Please do not do that, because again, this industry, the IT field, is very diverse. They didn't say whether or not if I needed a degree. So this is the thing with that. So I'm gonna answer that question as well. You do not need a bachelor's degree, a master's degree. You don't even have to have a degree in computer science, because I do not have a degree in computer science. I literally went to a boot camp and I got a job. Okay, I got a job in the IT. I do not have I do not have a degree in computer science. In this job description, unfortunately, did not have a lot of prefers or nice to have or required in this one. But if they tell you that it's required for you to have, so like for instance, like I want to go into Scrum. That is my path to go into. I want to be a Scrum Master. So that's the path. It is required for me to be certified as a Scrum Master. So I would need to either get my PSM1, PSM2, or I would need to get my CSM, right? A Certified Scrum Master or a Professional Scrum Master 1 or 2. It is not required that I have to be certified as a data analyst. Even though I am certified, it's not required. Okay, all the companies that I work for, a lot of my people did not have certifications. A lot of them did not have college degrees. My thing about it is that learn the trade, learn the skill, and then you'll be good to go. Okay, and as long as you get your hands-on, get a little bit of hands-on experience or whatever, you're good. That's that. So that's how do you know if you qualify. And I tell my people all the time, if you could do at least 80% of what they're asking you in that job description, apply. No one is going to know 100%. Google is your best friend. Okay, Google is your best friend. I'm telling you, to this day, even after 9 years being in the field, I still Google. Yes, I do. The tools that I use mainly in this field is going to be Power BI, SQL, Excel, Microsoft, Word, PowerPoint, Outlook, of course. So these are the main things that I use. SharePoint. So these are the tools that I mainly use on a daily in the field. Salary. Alrighty, so with my mentor job, when someone gets placed in the field, when they get an offer, I always blast them and be like, hey, so-and-so got an offer, congratulations to them. And one of the students said, one of my mentees said, this is great that they got an offer, but what's the pay? Salary depends on 3 factors, okay? You have location, you have experience, and then you have the industry / the size of the company, okay? These are the 3 things that's going to determine the salary. All right, so let's talk about location. Location. That is the #1 thing that's going to really determine your salary. The reason why is because the cost of living in different areas. So let's talk about the different locations when it comes to salary. For a data analyst role, okay, and then also you got to consider also that I'm just only going to give ranges, and because you can fall in between that range, and so the industry and the size of the company and your skills will determine where you fall within that range. Okay, so as a data analyst in Texas, and this is average, some of you may be making more, some of you may be making less. This is the average. Okay, so the average data analyst in Texas makes anywhere between $75,000 to $112,000 a year. California, now look how different that is. California is saying that their minimum is $90K up to $120. The reason why that is different because the cost of living in California is higher than what it is here in Texas. Okay, then you also have New York. New York is extremely expensive. New York is way more expensive than what you're going to find here in Dallas or what you find here in Texas. Okay, so New York said that their minimum was $80K and it goes up to $150K. So these are your averages for your data analysts. All right. Now, there's different types of data analysts. So you can be a data analyst that specializes in something. So for me, I'm a data analyst that specializes in SQL. All right. So when you're looking at your SQL, you have, or if you just want to straight up be a SQL developer, in Texas, the pay range is somewhere between 96K to 135. Starting out as $96,000 as a SQL developer is great. Sometimes a lot of SQL developers are going to start out at 110, 120, but sometimes you'll find some that will fall down to 90. But again, that really depends on the size of the company. But the average for Texas is about 96K to 135 as a SQL developer. Okay. In California, we have 116,000 to 150,000. New York is 100,000 up to 145 as a SQL developer or a data analyst that specializes in SQL. Reporting. You are the lowest paid developers out there, but we're the most needed. Reporting is a very easy job and you get paid a nice little salary for a very easy job. Okay. You do have your challenges. Don't get me wrong. We do have our challenges in reporting. We're praised for a lot of the work that we do. Reporting is kind of like your SQL people and your ETL people are the people who come and they put the house together and they put all the stucco on the stuff and the boards and all of that and the nails, and they're the ones that put it together and paint it and all of that. Us as reporters, once the house is done, we come in and decorate it, and people come in and says, "Oh my God, the house is so pretty!" And we're the one that get all the praise because we're the ones that actually made it very pretty and visual. Okay, that's a good analogy for you. So when it comes down to reporting, Texas, you're making about 75 to 120,000. California, you're making between 80 to 130, and New York, you're making between 80 to 150. So that's that. Now, when it comes down to negotiating your salary, you have to focus on the location. Now, also, you have your skills. Your skills is everything. Okay, your skills will determine how much money you will get paid. When you go on interviews, show your portfolio. Show what it is that you can do. Allow the project that you create, your reports that you build, bring that to the interview and show them what you can do. Allow your skills and your experience to speak for you, because that will speak volumes. And so one of the top questions or interviews that they ask you is, tell me about your Power BI experience, tell me about your SQL experience, tell me about your ETL experience. So when they ask you that, depending on the person who's asking that, be like, I have an actual report. Let me show you. So this report, this, and I done this and that. No, you're not really showing your real data. Create something that you can bring by using dummy data that you can show them that you can create. Or sometimes a company will actually give you a project for you to work on and bring it back for them so that way they can actually see it. And then last but not least, the industry / the size of the company. So this is also going to determine how much money you make. You cannot go to a company that is a startup, that is a small company, not even a Fortune 100 company, asking for the price that only Google or Microsoft could pay. If the company tells you this is our pay range and our pay range is only between 87,000 to 100,000, you can't come in and say, well, I'm looking for 120. That may be their budget. So before you start to negotiate, you need to go and do some research on the company. Figure out what their overhead is like, how big the company is, how long has the company been around. You may have to start looking at their stock. Is it going up? Is it going down? Look at the size of the company. It'll tell you that they employ over 50,000 people. That's a nice size company. Or they only employ over 5,000 people. That's a small company. So when you're going into a small company, you cannot go in asking for money that only Google or Microsoft can pay. Does that make sense? So you don't want to come in too high, but you definitely don't want to come in too low. Stay within the pay range that they gave you. If you feel like the pay range is not for you, then that job is not for you. Because especially if you've done the work and you realize that the company is a lot smaller. Okay? Now, I'm not saying that you can't negotiate outside of that. Just do your homework before you do. Who this position is not for. This position it's not for the person who is not disciplined, especially when you are remote. Okay? When you are remote, there is no one hovering over you making sure you do your job. So you have to be a self-starter. If you're a person who start on their own, needs a little bit of a pickup, or can't be disciplined, can't sit long enough, has to be moving, this is not for you. This is not for you. This is not the position for you. If you're a person who's a social butterfly, you love to talk, love to interact with people, blah, blah, this is not for you, okay? Because 95% of the time, I am not talking to anyone. And that's one thing I love about my job. If you are a social butterfly, a person who loves to interact, a person who really wants to be around other people, who just love just talk. Maybe the job that you want to get is become a project manager or maybe a business analyst, but a data analyst, a coder or developer, that's not going to be you if you're a social butterfly. And then last but not least, a person who doesn't pay close attention to detail, who cannot accept criticism or cannot take critiques. If you cannot take critiques or cannot handle criticism, this job is not for you, because there's going to be times where you're going to develop something and the end developer is not going to like it, or going to ask you or going to send it back and ask, did you do this, or can you not do that, or does it have to look like this? If you do not handle criticism well, job is not for you. Okay? Because they're not always going to like your work 100% of the time, and they're not. So you have to be able to work with change. And if you're not big on change, this position is not for you. Okay? So that is what I have for information when it comes to being a beginner and what to consider before coming in as a data analyst. Okay, so these are some things you can definitely think about. So I did go over and talk to you about what it is that I actually do. How do you know if you qualify for the position, the salary and how to negotiate that based on location, the industry and the size, and then also your skill level. And then last but not least, who this job is not for. Okay, I appreciate you guys for tuning in. If you do have any questions, please post your questions down in the comments. I will try to get to as many as I possibly can and answer your questions. And some of them I will probably just turn into a video. But if you want to know more, just let me know. So again, I thank you guys so much for watching, for tuning in. Until next time, bye.